Hi, I'm Tom Eschen, and this is Power in Politics, the award-winning podcast and segment that goes to the issues that impact New Yorkers and beyond the most with the people, the officials, advocates, the stakeholders that are making those decisions and calling for change, too. Today, we go to the racecourse, Saratoga Racecourse, as the Belmont Stakes. The Belmont Festival is in Saratoga this week, once again, for the second year. We'll discuss with David O'Rourke if there's a third year potentially on the table in Saratoga for the Belmont, and also where Saratoga fits in the grand scheme of New York horse racing and where they see it in the future, whether that is another Belmont, whether that is a Breeders' Cup, and how the Belmont Park reconstruction fits into all of that, and also New York horse racing's role in the Triple Crown and the dates of that Triple Crown. Would they be willing to listen or move that date back to better facilitate a potential Triple Crown winner in the future? Thanks always for listening and watching. You can listen wherever you get your podcasts, so make sure to subscribe today, or you can watch on YouTube at CBS 6 Albany. Yeah, thanks so much, Greg and David. We appreciate you coming on, and of course, a bit of a tradition for you in the opening week, in this case, opening week of the Belmont Festival.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. This is the second year we're seeing the Belmont Festival here at Saratoga Racecourse. What did you at NYRA learn from year one of this?
We needed more men's rooms.
That was one thing, yeah.
Hats off to the ops team.
Yeah.
We've rolled in last year, and we started a day earlier this year. We knew we could pull it off operationally, and so far it's been smooth.
Okay.
I mean, we had a bit of a power thing, but that was out of our control.
What about for Saturday specifically? Because I know we see sort of a buildup of people from yesterday even to today. I think we've seen a little bit more Friday, and then Saturday. I mean, we knew last year's 50,000 plus. That were here. Those lines. I guess. What do you bring in? Some porta potties? I guess. How do you kind of?
Oh, if you go on the
that?
Fence line, we've tapped into the sewer, so you got trailers, in different areas. And then in terms of the lines, you go through the logistics, and not to get into the details, but essentially it's people in motion, and they've just adjusted some of the stuff. But up here it's refining, because we have big events up here, like Travers and whatnot. It's just the Belmont's just to another level, and there's some learnings that we brought back, and it'll be a little smoother this year.
And as we look ahead now to the rest of this weekend, what should people expect if they come out this time around in terms of the races, the stakes, and everything that's in store here at the racecourse?
Like the best racing in the country. It's going to be, once the gates open, the stars of the show are the athletes, equine and human. And you're looking at, this is Saratoga, this is the Mecca, and we're going to have some great races this weekend.
I know there's been some talk, and I know after, of course, we know with the construction of Belmont Park right now going on, I know that it's always been the plan to September 2026. That's still on track, right, at this point? And there was always the question of, well, maybe there could be a possibility that we do Belmont Stakes at Belmont Park in 2026. And I know that you guys have said we're going to make an announcement soon. I want to know what does go into that decision. Like, what do you consider? What are the factors when you're deciding what to do in 2026?
That's a really good question. Like, first off, it's the racing surfaces. Now, those will be in the fall, so the racing surfaces are going to be good. It's about the timing on the building, and listen, we're going to get through this weekend, and then we're going to give everyone as much lead time as possible. So just give us a week, and then we'll give everyone some clarity on that.
Everyone take a breath, right? We got a lot to do over the course of
I'm going to hold my breath for about 3 more days.
There is another, we knew last year, and I think we'll probably see that again this year, was attendance, here at the racecourse was higher than we've seen at Belmont Park in the past. How do you replicate that? I know, of course, you're putting millions of dollars into trying to do that, I'd imagine. But I guess, how do you replicate and how do you incentivize attendance once you go back to the Belmont Park?
I like that question. Saratoga is so unique. So as a management team, you inherit something that's working so well. And when you're looking at the backyard and the fact that, a huge proportion of the attendance is in the back, and the price point and the ability to bring the family out and come here and bring food and beer, take those learnings, bring them down south. And, we're going from 5 acres of green space to 30 in an area that doesn't have a lot of parks. So, listen, is it going to be very different than here? Yeah, this is historic. That's going to be a modern building. But there's learnings about how it works here that we can bring down there. So, I think it's going to be amazing once we're there.
And I know you want to hold other events down there, right? Outside of the racing season?
Yeah, and there's an arena right there. There's a mall that's opening up right across the street. And we're not up there for the whole summer. So, you can talk whether events, whether it's corporate. And now you're building a new building, so you can factor all that into the capabilities to utilize that building. And then with all of that green space, car shows. During the winter, we've worked with the Islanders, and they've got ice skating rinks out there. So just think of like activation year round. Think of a park.
Yeah. What about here? You know, there's some residents that I've spoken to, some people, this is dark from September to June, generally every year.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a conversation about doing stuff like that here at the race course?
Do we do weddings and functions in 1863?
Yeah.
You know, the focus has been, it's a really good question. The focus has been so much on Belmont, and up here works so well. Could there be some other things that are done? Possibly. It's, we're trying to bite off one thing at a time.
Yeah. You got a big project
But
going on.
we really expect, we're going back to the normal meet.
Okay.
You know, back to the tradition.
After this?
Yeah, I don't want to play with it.
Yeah, I was going to ask. That was
everything that we're doing is one-off for this development.
That was my next question, was long-term, you know, where does Saratoga Racecourse fit in NYRA's plans? I know there's plans for Aqueduct. I know there's plans for Belmont Park. What about Saratoga?
Saratoga's going back to 40 days, ending on Labor Day. You know, the July 4th festival, the way the timing worked and the significance of those races and the international participation, it just works so much better up here compared to downstate at Aqueduct. So that's temporary too. So I can dispel a few rumors with this one.
Yeah.
We're going back to the traditional, the 40-day meet.
I know that's expanded over the years, and you guys have said
that's
that before.
That's why I stopped myself.
Right?
There, yeah.
40 days, why is that the right amount of time?
It's just a good number. It seems to have worked, and I don't see it expanding beyond that, honestly. You don't want to dilute something this wonderful.
So we go beyond New York, we go beyond Saratoga, if you will. You know, you heard some people, especially in the journalistic field, you could probably say, that cover this on a daily basis, talk about horse racing being at a reckoning, seeing, you know, horses not run the Preakness, you know, after winning the Kentucky Derby, no Triple Crown. Do you agree with that? Do you think horse racing's at a reckoning?
In terms of the Triple Crown?
In terms of just in general.
I think.
But why don't we start there? Why don't we start at Triple Crown?
Well, we went over 3 decades, almost 4, without a winner.
Yeah.
Journalism's going to be the favorite on Saturday. Barely lost the Derby.
Yeah.
So it could have happened this year. You know, like in reality. So when you're playing with something like that, like the literal crown jewel of American racing, you need to take a lot of input, and you need to work methodically how you think through it. So with us, we want to get back to Belmont. I do not see us touching that until that moment, but those conversations can go on to it.
In terms of the date?
In terms of the date, well, you're basically going about the spacing of the races.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to be on this pattern at least until we get down to Belmont.
Right. Probably, I'd imagine Breeders' Cup is a factor there too, and putting that on at all, or.
Well, not so much with the spacing, but
okay.
That's just you got to get a big event in a new building.
Right.
Like
that's 27, right?
That's
just for our
27.
viewers. Yep, 27.
Correct.
Yep. Okay. So.
But you can circle back in terms of like the overall industry.
Yeah.
You had record ratings with the Derby. The numbers were amazing. Preakness had record wagering. The big events up here, the numbers are powerful year in and year out. I think one of the things that we're contemplating when we're doing in Belmont is, you know, the day in and day out racing. Like, how do you create an environment where people want to come out? And I think part of that is it's a sporting event, it's a pretty event, price point, accessibility to the animals. So, you know, when you see this place on a weekday up here, it's quite vibrant. And that's the type of thing those are learnings that we can take and we can adopt to our new facility. So I think it's just about evolving the fan experience at a racetrack. And for us, a lot of it has to do with green space, accessibility, and yeah, there are aspects too. You want to bring, when you're dealing with like certain demos in the high-end part of the equation, which generates quite a bit of revenue, you have to have the proper offerings for that. And so it's about investment, and that's what New York's doing with Belmont Park.
And I do wonder, I remember last year we talked about you know, the wagering and the record set there, but you also have the under, and some people were like, well, that's because everyone can just do it online. Everyone can just do it on their phone.
That's a good thing.
How do you work through that to get people here so that way they just don't have to sit at home? I mean, I'm sure every sport's going through that right now. People that, I don't want to go to an NFL game. I can pay whatever it is. I can sit at home. How do you
That's a really good point. You think back about even the building at Belmont that we just took down and that we're rebuilding.
Yeah.
That building was built for gambling. So was Aqueduct. There's aspects of this building where it was placed into it.
Yeah.
The experience is different. You don't need that part of it. So actually it frees you up in terms of opening space up and allowing people to experience the track in a different setting where it's not, you don't have to go through a mutual bay to get to the track. People can do it on the phone. Now you still need that.
Yeah.
There is an aspect of the in-person, so it's a blend. But no, we're embracing it. I think the world's gone digital. Like, so how do we play with that?
Yeah.
So I think it's huge.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I think Instagram, like, there's so many things about the track that you lean into it. But yeah, the betting is on the phone.
Do you see it giving you like a touch point of
Yeah, of
people,
course.
of someone that downloads NYRA bets? Does that work?
That, and then think of the sports books, like and several of them have, FanDuel will be an example, where it's a single wallet and things like that, where that broadens your audience. Now, all like people that they might be aware of the Triple Crown, but they're engaging these platforms as a casual sports fan, and wagering and interacting with the second screen in that sense, and we put our product there. And it's really just broadening out your TAM, your accessible market.
I know a proponent of this for you, and this goes beyond the betting aspect. And yesterday you had the New York Breds, and
Yeah.
we talk about, I think another big concern and challenge right now is diminishing fields. You talk about the crop that's coming in, of being able to, backfill that, if you will. Yes, you had the New York Breds yesterday. How do you navigate that challenge when it comes to making sure people have races that aren't just 4 horses, as sometimes you might say?
Yeah, so actually New York's, we've got a great story here. In terms of the full crop, I think it was up 16-17% last year. So it's a positive story in New York. Now, other regional markets might be struggling, but what we're doing in terms of our racing and breeding program here, it actually creates a very unique opportunity to get into horse racing. Our program, the New York program, is the best in the country in the sense that you can run in restricted conditions and then go into the open. I think it's a great program. I think it's working really well, actually. And now with the new tracks and the facility at Belmont and the synthetic track, there's just more options, and I think you're going to see growth, and you'll see continued growth with the New York bred population.
And we talked about,
and that's the focus for us, because like a huge percentage of our racing is New York bred.
and the other aspect of synthetic, I think, some people talk about is the safety aspect as well, where that would come into play, especially in the winter months. As you get deeper in there.
Yeah, so over the years we've changed out all our dirt surfaces, actually. The one here, the main track, Oklahoma a couple of years ago, and each time we refined it, and what we found is that the addition of the clay pad really adds what you call bounce to the track. It's a little bit kinder surface, but you can't put salt in it. So we want the dirt track at Belmont to be the best track as possible and take all the learnings from these other tracks. So the fact is, do you want a synthetic track? Because we have room for one more mile track. Or do you want a winter dirt? And the synthetic just makes so much more sense statistically from a safety aspect, as well as year-round when it rains, as it does up here. You can take those races off the grass and put them on the synthetic, and people are much more inclined to stay in, because it's kind of like fake grass, the way it feels underfoot.
Yeah.
So that's the plan.
Okay. Anything else we should know about this weekend?
Not I can think of.
Yeah.
Nothing I'm aware of yet,
Yeah.
but like.
Yeah, big day Saturday. Expecting 50,000 again?
Yeah, it should be 50,000.
Yeah. Great. David, really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening. Hit the subscribe button right now so you can stay up to date on these news-making conversations about the issues impacting New Yorkers the most: power and politics.